She must have realized I'd been there because my phone exploded with messages later that night. At first, I didn't know how to respond. Every text felt like a reminder of the betrayal I'd just uncovered. Eventually, though, I agreed to meet her, but only on my terms. I chose a small diner downtown, a place far from the memories we'd built together. And for support, I asked Marcus to come along. He sat at a nearby table, close enough to intervene if I needed him, but far enough to give us privacy. When she arrived, she was visibly nervous. Her eyes darted around the room, likely spotting Marcus. She tried to make small talk, asking how I'd been and whether I was eating okay. I didn't have the patience for it. "I want the truth," I said, cutting her off. At first, she stuck to her story. She insisted it had been a one-time mistake, a lapse in judgment that meant nothing. But I wasn't buying it. I'd heard her laughing on the phone that day, her voice filled with a warmth she hadn't shown me in months. When I told her there was no chance of us getting back together, her facade cracked. She finally admitted everything. For the past 2 years, every time I went camping with Kai, she'd been seeing other people. She met them through dating apps, using my trips as her opportunity to cheat. Her excuse? She thought I might be cheating during those trips, so she decided to even the score. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "That's garbage, and you know it," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "I've never cheated on you." Not once. When I asked about protection, she hesitated. Her answer usually was like a punch to the gut. A wave of nausea hit me. I'd already gotten tested earlier that week, just in case, but hearing her admit it felt like pouring salt into an open wound. Then I did something I hadn't planned. I pulled out my phone and showed her a picture of the ring. I told her about the proposal plans, how I'd been planning to ask her to marry me at the barbecue where we first met, surrounded by friends and family. For the first time, she broke down. She sobbed, begging for another chance, saying she'd do anything to make it right. But all I could think about was her voice that day, laughing and talking about someone else. The person I thought I knew, the person I wanted to spend my life with, had been a lie. I stood up, told her it was over, and walked out. Marcus followed me, silent but supportive. I could feel his presence behind me as we left the diner, a steadying force in a storm of emotions. The next few days were a blur. I avoided my phone, ignored her messages, and spent hours replaying everything in my head. Jade, Marcus's wife, called me, saying she'd been trying to mediate because my ex told her it was just one mistake. When I told Jade the full story, the 2 years of lies, she was furious. "I can't believe you would do something like this to someone who was planning to propose to you," Jade reportedly told her. Then she made it clear my ex wasn't welcome at the barbecue next month. Jade apologized to me, saying she felt terrible for pushing me to reconcile. I told her it wasn't her fault, we were all fooled. As more details came out, the betrayal deepened. Those Saturday girls' nights my girlfriend used to host at our house, they were a cover. She'd wait until everyone left before sneaking off to meet whoever she was seeing that weekend. It was a level of deceit I hadn't thought possible. I've been trying to figure out who she was talking to on the phone that day I overheard her. I'm pretty sure it was her sister. I reached out to her sister a few times, hoping for answers, but she won't respond. Their mom, however, called me. She asked if there was any way to fix things, saying my ex was devastated and didn't know how to move forward without me. I told her the truth. There's no fixing this. Some bridges are burned beyond repair. This week, I finally went back to work. It feels good to have a routine again, something to keep my mind occupied. I've stopped drinking, realizing it wasn't helping. My mom's been great about letting me stay with her until my lease is up in October. Sure, living with your mom at 34 isn't ideal, but it's temporary, and I'm grateful for the support. Jade told me my ex isn't doing well. She's apparently withdrawn, avoiding her friends, and struggling to cope. Honestly, I'm not doing great either, but that's not my problem anymore. She made her choices, and now she's living with the consequences. The barbecue is coming up soon. It'll be strange being there without her, but it's better than pretending everything's fine. My friends have been amazing through all this, checking in without pushing me to talk when I don't want to. They've been my lifeline, reminding me that I'm not alone. I've blocked her number and all her social media. Maybe someday I'll look back and understand why she did what she did, but right now, I'm focused on moving forward. Kai's been trying to get me to join his boxing gym, and I'm considering it. Small steps, you know? In a strange way, forgetting that laptop felt like the worst thing that could happen at the time. But it ended up saving me from making the biggest mistake of my life. Sometimes, life falls apart so better things can come together. At least, that's what I'm trying to believe. The road ahead won't be easy. Healing rarely is. But I've learned something valuable through all of this. The importance of surrounding yourself with people who genuinely care about you. Marcus, Jade, Kai, my mom, they've all shown me what real support looks like. And for that, I'm thankful. As I sit here reflecting on everything, I realize I'm not just closing a chapter, I'm starting a new one. It's daunting, but it's also exciting. For the first time in years, I'm focusing on myself, my goals, my happiness, my future. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and hit that subscribe button for more. Your support means the world to me, and I'm grateful to have you along for the journey. Hey, I've been thinking about us. Can we meet to talk? My thumb hovered over the send button for a moment, my chest tightening with a mix of guilt and resolve. Was I doing the right thing? The answer came swiftly. Yes, I was. Her reply came almost instantly, as if she'd been waiting for this exact message. Of course. I've been waiting for you to reach out. Come over tonight. As I stood outside her apartment later that evening, my heart pounded relentlessly. The guilt I'd been wrestling with earlier flared up again, making me hesitate. But I reminded myself why I was here. This wasn't about revenge or closure. It was about reclaiming something far more important, my grandmother's ring. That heirloom symbolized generations of love and loyalty, and it didn't belong to her. Claire greeted me at the door with a hopeful smile, her eyes shimmering as if she were seeing a lifeline after drifting too long at sea. She reached out to hug me, and I let her, though every fiber of my being screamed against it. Her interpretation of my visit was clear. She thought this was the start of reconciliation. I followed her inside, forcing myself to appear relaxed as we sat down. Claire began chatting eagerly, her words tumbling over each other as she talked about how much she'd missed me. But I wasn't listening. My focus was on her hands and what wasn't on them. The ring. Panic started to build in my chest. What if she'd lost it? Or worse, sold it? Trying to steady myself, I decided to approach the subject casually. So, I said, feigning interest in her stories, I noticed you're not wearing the ring. Do you still have it? Her laughter was light, as if the question amused her. Oh, of course. It's in its box in my bedroom. I don't wear jewelry at home. She waved the thought away, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Relief flooded through me, though I kept my expression neutral. The ring was here. All I needed now was an opportunity to retrieve it. I leaned back, forcing a smile onto my face. "I've been thinking about us a lot lately," I said, letting the words drip out slowly. Maybe we could try again. Start fresh." The hope that blossomed on her face almost made me recoil. She practically lit up, her smile widening into something so radiant it felt almost cruel to destroy it. "You mean it?" she whispered. "I've been hoping you'd say that." I nodded, though the words tasted like poison on my tongue. "Yeah, I think we just need a clean slate." She reached out, her fingers brushing mine. "I knew we were meant to be," she said softly, her voice trembling with emotion. I swallowed hard, suppressing the nausea rising in my throat. I reminded myself why I was doing this, why I had to play this part perfectly. My resolve hardened, and I decided to push the conversation toward the ring. "If we're going to start over," I said, my tone light, "maybe we should use the ring again for a new proposal someday. You know, make it symbolic of our fresh start." Claire hesitated, her hand pulling away slightly. "I don't know," she said slowly. "That ring represents everything we've been through. It's a promise, my promise not to mess things up again." I nodded, pretending to agree. "You're right," I said, forcing a smile. "It's special. I just thought it'd be nice to bring it into our future." Her guard seemed to lower slightly, and I knew I was close. But then she got up, announcing she was going to make coffee. This was it, my chance. As soon as she disappeared into the kitchen, I stood up, my pulse racing. I called out, "Hey, can I use the bathroom?" "Of course," she replied, her voice drifting from the kitchen. But instead of heading to the bathroom, I slipped into her bedroom. The room smelled faintly of lavender, and everything was meticulously organized, as if she'd been preparing for me to visit. My eyes scanned the space quickly, landing on the nightstand. My hands were trembling as I opened the drawer. Inside, tucked neatly into a velvet box, was the ring. My grandmother's ring. The sight of it made my chest tighten, not with guilt, but with relief and triumph. I opened the box, my breath catching as I saw the delicate band and the sparkling stone that had been passed down through generations of my family. Carefully, I slipped it into my pocket, closing the drawer as quietly as I could. Back in the living room, I sat down, taking a moment to steady my breathing. Claire returned moments later, holding 2 mugs of coffee. She handed me one, her smile as warm as the drink. "I'm so glad you came over," she said, her voice filled with sincerity. "I've missed us." I nodded, taking a sip of the coffee. "Yeah," I said, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. "But I've been doing a lot of thinking, Claire, and I don't think we can make this work." Her face fell, the light in her eyes flickering out. "What?" she whispered. "But you just said." "I know," I interrupted, setting the mug down. "I thought maybe we could, but I realized we're just too different. It's better if we both move on." Her expression shifted from shock to desperation. "No, please," she said, her voice trembling. "We can work through this. I can change whatever you need. I'll do it." I shook my head, standing up. "I'm sorry, Claire." "It's over." Before she could say another word, I walked out the door. Behind me, I could hear her shouting my name, her voice cracking with emotion. But I didn't look back. When I got home, I locked the ring away in a safe where it belonged. Looking at it, I felt a sense of closure, Not just about the ring, but about everything. Claire had taken so much from me, not just materially, but emotionally. Taking back the ring felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. The text started the next day. "You stole my ring. Give it back or I'll call the police. You're a liar and a thief, just like I always suspected." At first, I ignored her. But when the messages became too much, I decided to indulge in one last petty move. I sent her a picture of me wearing the ring on my pinky finger with the caption, "Back where it belongs." Then, I blocked her. For anyone worried about the legal side of things, don't be. I've got it covered. In my state, engagement rings are considered conditional gifts. If the marriage doesn't happen, the ring legally reverts to the giver. Since we never made it to the altar, the ring was always mine. I also have documentation proving the ring's history in my family, dating back to my great-grandmother. Even if Claire tried to take this to court, she wouldn't stand a chance. This whole ordeal has been a roller coaster of emotions. At times, it felt like I was losing more than I was gaining. But in the end, it taught me valuable lessons about trust, about resilience, and about standing up for what's rightfully mine. One day, when I meet someone truly deserving, I'll give them the ring. Someone who values love, loyalty, and the history behind such a precious heirloom. As for Claire, I hope she learns to let go. Holding on to something that doesn't belong to you never ends well. To anyone reading this who's dealing with a difficult breakup or a similar situation, stay strong, stand your ground, and never let someone take what's yours, whether it's your heart, your peace, or your grandmother's ring.